LinkedIn, we are going to fire up your Monday.
With Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
I am so excited, LinkedIn. Today, we're going to talk about leveling up. It's sweater weather, so I hope you're leveling up your sweater game. We want to know where you are checking in from, where you're viewing from, so make sure you post in the chat. Looking forward to seeing where all the folks that we're tuning in from before. You know, we got big Northeast presence here with me and Steve. I'm coming from Valhalla, New York. Steve's coming from Stamford, Connecticut. We usually have people tuning in from all over the place. Texas, New York, Connecticut, Canada, all over the place. We want to hear where you're tuning in from, so make sure you post in the chat. Today, we're talking about leveling up, mindset, your business. How do you level up on LinkedIn? We're going to get right into it. I'm going to introduce my main man, Steve Spiro, the Master Connector. Steve Spiro is a martial arts black belt and a master networker. He has moved from being a shy, introverted kid to the master connector he is today. Steve Spiro began his business career by starting an advertising company in NYC. He had an incredibly fulfilling career and an experience in advertising and marketing, but eventually pivoted to the technology industry. Today, Steve is a business automation consultant with Quadient, where he helps companies streamline and automate how they communicate and connect with their customers, leveraging artificial intelligence with both hardware and software. Steve Spiro believes in the power of mentorship, growing oneself through self-development, and continuing to create meaningful connections through building a large network. Welcome to the stage, the Master Connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all that you do. And, I don't know if I could call you the Wizard of Oz behind the stage, behind the curtain, because we've got another Wizard of Oz, Tim Colson, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
There we go.
Absolutely. But thank you again for the introduction. And hey, folks, it's Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. Cam and I really appreciate you tuning in. We're here every day. That'd be nice, right? Every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we come at you with engaging content on how you too can be a Master Connector. During this Master Connection series, each week our goal is to gather subject matter experts to impart their wisdom on us. Welcome to the show. I'm very blessed to have my co-host, Cameron Toth. Cameron is the host and founder of Biz Dev Live. Cameron founded Toth Event Staffing in 2011. Toth Event Staffing is a hospitality company providing staff to caterers, cafeterias, and catering departments in Westchester, New York, and New York City. Biz Dev Live was founded in 2020. It's a weekly show that airs on multiple platforms, including right here on LinkedIn Live, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Biz Dev Live takes Cameron's entrepreneurship experience and combines it with his passion for helping young people and business-minded professionals. Cameron's mission in life is increasing access to education and opportunity for all people. So please bring back to the stage my man, the Wizard of Oz, Mr. Cameron Toth.
Steve, thank you so much. Steve is truly the Master Connector, brings amazing people to this show constantly. I would be remiss if I don't shout out to the folks that are watching. We got Mama Spiro in the house checking in, Poughkeepsie, New York. Thanks, Mama Spiro. We got Estelle checking in from Quebec City, Canada. We got Timothy Colson on the back on the stage here. Walden, New York, represented. We are so excited to hear from you, and we depend on our community to really bring the life and the light to this show. We try to be the light for everybody, but we know it wouldn't be anything without you, our audience. So thank you for being here. Make sure to comment. Make sure to ask those questions. The more specific, the better, because if you're asking a question, we know somebody else has that question and you're helping them by asking it. All right, we're going to get into our amazing guest today, who I'm so excited to introduce to you, Mary McKeown-Christie. Let me fly right over to her. There we go. Mary McKeown-Christie. Mary's a longtime startup marketer with experience driving marketing programs through the early stages of a startup all the way to IPO and acquisition. Yep. Open to contract or in-house opportunities. As a fractional chief marketing officer, she strategizes business growth deeply rooted in the science of marketing with 25 plus years experience and data-driven decision-making, which drives more leads, scalability, and increased revenue. So welcome the LinkedIn queen herself, Miss Mary McKeown, to our show.
Thank you, guys. This is awesome. I feel like I'm on television. This is crazy. Love your energy. Good morning. What can I do for you?
All right. So this is great. So one of the things that we first were talking about starting with was, we're trying to level up mindset. We're going to definitely talk about the business going from that entrepreneurial stage to the IPO thing. I think, we want to hear about those things, but you were razzing even Steve, who's amazing, a lot farther along in LinkedIn connections than I am, and saying, hey, there's things that he can do to level up. So what can our viewers do? What are some simple things they can do to level up their LinkedIn game?
Yeah, so this is a really easy one. It's just a little technical. I don't want to bore you with too much, but I will tell you that the philosophy of LinkedIn has changed a little bit after the Microsoft acquisition several years ago, which has left room for some great development. It has become a very strong business development tool for any business, small, medium, and or large enterprise. So there's a couple things you're going to want to do. The first thing is make sure that you've tightened up your headshot. You've got to have a background image that's according to what you do, that fits in your place. Appropriate descriptions with keywords, because recruiters or people that are searching for you are actually treating it like a Google search. Making sure that your data is updated. A lot of people forget to update their employment, just baseline general data. And they also neglect adding their activities in post section, which is a little tricky to do, but the bottom line is if you are posting or resharing or commenting, that's all activity. And you can go onto your profile. They have a help section now where you can say, add, how do I do this? Because I don't want to walk you through all of the steps right now. It's a couple steps. But you want to add that section to appear on your page, on your profile page. And I'm using this terminology profile page intentionally because there's also a company page if you have a business. And then if there are particular posts or that you would like to share, instead of having to spend money to promote them, you can add them to the feed as a featured story. So it's kind of like a blog, really. So if somebody's looking at your profile, they can see particular things that you want to bring attention to. You can move them around, the order of them, etc. And then you'll also have an activity feed showing in the background on the running stats. What this means is that if somebody's looking at you and trying to figure out where you fit or what your space is, it gives them a good idea of who you are, what kind of things you're connected to, etc. Joining groups, commenting on groups, hashtags, or even tagging people that are relevant to what you're trying to do make a big difference in the virality of your posts and your presence on LinkedIn. I don't know if maybe some of you may be currently receiving LinkedIn newsletters from particular users. The only reason that is able to happen for a particular profile is because they have come up to a certain level of followers.
What's that number? Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. Can't really get a straight answer on that one. I know they're working on it because I've been hammering them on this. But I think baseline 15,000. So okay. That tells you you've got some work to do, right? And a good way to drive followers is to post to relevant groups or businesses that you're connected with or topics, et cetera. It takes time, right? You can import your contact list or sync your contacts from your email tool, Google or Outlook. These are all on the settings on the back end. Again, it's very clunky, but it's there. There's plenty of services out there that will help you do this as well. So if you're not really technical or don't have the bandwidth for it, you can find services to help you do this. The other thing I would recommend for sure is initiating a Sales Navigator account. If you're in business development or sales or trying to really build high-level connections for investment, et cetera, if you initiate a Sales Navigator account, it kind of takes any kind of a search or an audience to a next level where you can create dedicated lists and use it kind of like a CRM where you're tracking how often have I communicated with this person? Are we getting contact information? Many people are hiding their email addresses. They don't want to get blasted. So they're keeping it through LinkedIn. So you have to kind of think through your processes, and eventually your goal is going to be, hey, can we talk outside of LinkedIn? But at least the Sales Navigator helps you organize your go-to-market approach, who you're talking to and when, and keeps you on track.
I love it. And I think we've had this conversation before. You don't want to have everybody that you're connected with just on one platform. You want to be able to go into these different platforms.
Yeah, tailor your message a little bit to their relevance. Otherwise, it's just noise. And we've got plenty of noise out there. Everybody's kind of burnt out, I think.
One of the things that Mary did in schooling me, and she's great. So connect with Mary for sure. But it was a simple thing. And she's like, we got to make sure that your personal profile is connected with your business profile. Otherwise, the two aren't going to communicate really well. And I'm like, no one's ever told me about that. I didn't go to LinkedIn school, so I didn't know, So
thank you for bringing that up. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. It's absolutely true. So the logic of LinkedIn started with a person-to-person connection. And then they realized, oh, these people have companies and somebody might want to follow their company. Same thing happened on Facebook. So you go create a company page for your company with your company logo and your company message and company related stuff, not personal. And if you post on the company, you log into it, you get to it from a drop-down menu in LinkedIn to go to your company, and you can make a post on it. But then you can share it and tag yourself, and it'll appear on your personal. Because you might have 10,000 people following on your personal profile, but only 500 people following on your company profile. And that way you're cross-marketing, so you're hitting both markets, and people start to kind of get it. It's confusing and it's clunky. It's just the nature of how these apps have developed. But in marketing, you would just want to be where your audience is. So if they're following on your company, you want to make sure they see it. If they're following you personally, you want to make sure they see it.
The other thing that Mary brought up in schooling me big time was because she's on the show, she's like, I want to search the show, and she couldn't find the show. So there was another hack that she was helping me with as well. You want to tell them about that, Mary, if you don't mind?
Yeah, well, I don't really have a clear answer on why it wasn't appearing, but I was using it as an example. I was using a tablet. I was traveling at the time, trying to look up a few things to promote for you guys, and nothing was coming up. And when I was searching for nothing, I was like, what is going on? Is it hidden? What is happening here? And then when I was able to log in on a laptop, I was able to find it. So we don't know if this is a LinkedIn glitch and or if sometimes when you have posts, they're not public posts. They're only available to people within your network, not outside of it. So you want to make sure everything you're doing, the whole point of networking is to make sure people are aware of you and can find you.
Yep.
And you also want to protect your contacts, by the way. So go to your settings, and they've reconfigured it again. And I can't tell you exactly which menu it is. I believe it's the third one down. But there's a menu in there that gives you the options to hide contacts so that somebody can't go in there and data mine your contacts that you've worked so hard to connect to, right?
And I got this piece of advice the other day too, and I was sitting there, I was like, okay, like I get it, but I use the feature as well. Like I go in, I don't use it often, but I know it's interesting for me, especially with marketing the show and sort of trying to find people to speak and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So why should people go in there? And because I understood why I was given the advice, because they were saying, well, if you're a painting company and another painting company goes into your profile, they can go and they can find all your clients and they can start pitching to your clients. I wasn't really concerned about that, but is there another reason?
Yes, you should be concerned about that. They're yours. No bueno. Block it. Lock it down. No, no entry. Mine. They connected to me, not to you. You don't know what they're going to say to these people. They might use your name as a reference. You haven't given them permission. That's why there's the whole issue of, may I, asking people, could you please provide an introduction for me? Sure, no problem. No, I don't know you. I'm not going to introduce you. I mean, really. And you have to think about bots. So now they're connecting bots to tools, and they're going out and they're trying to data mine. Now, protect your brand, protect your reputation. It's okay if somebody asks you, hey, I see you're connected to so-and-so, would you mind, providing a reference or introducing me? Great. That's exactly professional that you want, the professionalism. But that's the value of it. And in fact, years ago, I remember I was training a sales team for a client, and they said, well, isn't the whole point of LinkedIn to be able to share your contacts? And I was like, no, it is not. LinkedIn is a virtual party room for you to connect to people and pretend you have a cocktail in your hand and say, hi, how are you? What do you do? What can I do for you? Or can I help you? Or, hey, I'm looking for some help here. And if you have good keywords in your profile description, you're going to come up on their search. I can't tell you how many people have been frustrated and found me just, I don't know, temporary part-time marketing, or because they didn't have the budget for a full-time person, or they didn't really want it right now. They just need a senior level to come in and help me fix why we're stuck. Great. So I have all these crazy keywords going on for them because they can't find me otherwise. Now on Google they are. And the fractional model, by the way, is starting to pick up a lot more in the marketing space, but it's been in the CFO space for, 20 years. So from a finance perspective, it's fine. But for marketing, they're still trying to get their head around it.
Great information. I know Val Torres asked a question, so I'll set this up for Steve. So would you recommend your personal profile, and he's talking about Facebook, to stay personal, while your LinkedIn profile stay professional?
Yes. I found that, there's two ways. So originally the personal Facebook profile was designed for you to connect with friends and family or girls you want to date from, the boys that created it originally back at Harvard. But the idea of it being a personal space is very relevant. If you want to use it for professional connections, then we recommend creating a secondary Facebook profile with your business email address, not your personal address, and you can connect with them that way. However, in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of changes, and Facebook has lost a ton of value and a ton of users. So from a networking perspective for business, there's really not a lot of value for you. However, you can still manage a company page on Facebook through your personal profile, and people can follow you there if they happen to be on that network and want to see what's going on with your company, et cetera. That's kind of like the best halfway point, medium point that I can recommend.
And I know Steve's going to chime in here, but I'll just say this. I think a great way to level up if you're only playing on one platform is to get your business on some other platforms with some posts to go along with that, some built-in content. Great way to level up, especially if you've already got content in these other platforms, photos, posts. You just copy that post, bring it into the other platform, and you got some ready-made content. Yes, we could talk about editing and doing some different stuff to cater to the platform, but having content there that you've worked on is a whole lot better than having a profile with no content. So get that stuff into that platform and don't worry about it too much.
If I can give you a really quick
I know Steve wanted to jump in. Let me give Steve a chance.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's all good. And Mary, Tamara, you can see viewers, you can see why we want to have Mary on here. She's a powerhouse. So that's okay. It's all right. Listen, the viewers, I know the viewers are probably tired of our perspective. I know they probably are mine, and that's why I didn't mind Mary jumping in on Val's question, because Val and I know each other. We're good friends. So he's probably bored and sick and tired of my perspective. So hearing Mary is way better than hearing me. But I will say this, my perspective is this. If your business is lifestyle focused, if it's focused on 40-ish plus and older, it's a good place that you could play in, right? Personal trainers, people that are looking for diet type stuff. That's a good place for you to play in. But as far as, I think Facebook is definitely a more of a personal type of, platform. There is the business page like you guys are talking about. That's another way you can make it a little bit more businessy. But if you really want to do business and you want to talk to, the real business oriented people, I think LinkedIn is the place to be at, and you want to stay here for sure. Keep Facebook a little more personal. You could talk about some of your personal opinions keep your personal opinions. For the most part, I'm talking like politics and things like that, controversial stuff. Keep that away from LinkedIn if you can. If you really want to, make friends, win friends, and influence people, right? Not versus how to alienate people and make enemies, right? Which is the other book, the opposite to the How to Win Friends book. So, anyway, that's my perspective for you, Val. You're muted again there, sir.
Sorry, go ahead, Mary. I know you had something pressing.
Sorry, and I'm still getting used to the platform. And I'm reading and talking, and I'm walking and chewing gum. I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Okay, sorry. My bad. Okay.
Episodes into it, we're still getting used to it.
Thank you. So, quick hack here. I know you wanted to give. We're talking about leveling up, right? So, a lot of organizations don't really understand the value to social media because they personally don't enjoy it or don't participate in it. I don't care because it's not about you. It's about your prospects, right? So what that means is you've got to have a presence on Twitter, on LinkedIn, some sort of presence on Facebook, either a company page or a personal business profile, right? To just keep things going. Sometimes Instagram, again, it depends on your business lifestyle, yada, 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 et cetera. Let's just take B2B tech. This is where I come from. I've been here for a long time, right? Many times they would argue with me and how they hated social media and they didn't want to do it. Well, here's the easy hack. You get yourself a social media aggregator. One of them is called Hootsuite. It's a really strong app. It's an app. You connect every account to them. So you're all 5 that I just listed are 4 or 3, 2 maybe. But what it does is it enables you to then take your content, and now let's talk about marketing practices. You don't want to just blast stuff out there without bringing them back to you, to your website to read about you and poke around and hopefully pick up the phone or send you an email or fill out a form. The whole point is create awareness to get them to come back to you to ask you for something, your call to action, right? Easy way to do that is you use this aggregator and say, I'm going to post about X. That is a blog post I just created. So I've got a graphic, I've got a teaser, and then I have a link back to the blog post, and I've got a hashtag, or maybe I've got 3 hashtags, depending on what we're talking about here. Trending topics, right? You can schedule that same post to multiple accounts with one effort. You just go on, you load it, and you say post here, 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 and here. Now, the only thing you're going to have to keep in mind is Twitter has a limited character limit on the text. I think it's 280 at this point. It used to be like 140. But that's plenty for a blurb. The whole idea is to dangle the carrot. So they're going to see a picture, an intriguing picture. Pictures with people always statistically score way higher than just blank, boring pictures. When there's people, you'll get higher engagement. If there's a catchy headline, and a subsequent, reason why they should click through, you're going to get some action. And then you're going to have Google Analytics connected to your website to show your top referring sources so that you can gauge, hey, which of my social channels is producing results, meaning coming back to me. And then you take it to that next level. Did that result in a lead? Did it result in an opportunity? Did we close the deal? What happened?
Love that. I want to answer this question from Stephen Hubbard, which, I think is a really important question. So, if your work is political, I don't think you should keep your work off of LinkedIn. That's your work. If you're a mayor, if you're a candidate running for Congress, your politic is your work. So I think that's one of the few places where politics is really game and you're there to make a stance and have it. I don't know if Mary and Steve, you have another way to sort of go in on this, but Steve is saying, I understand avoiding politics on my LinkedIn profile, but how can I display work I've done for activism activities?
I think if you're not necessarily like in people's face and you're just saying, I've helped this particular person do this thing, I don't think you're what the context of what I said was, if you start talking about your feelings about racism, and there's controversial aspects of it, right? You start talking Trump stuff, you're gonna get polarized situations going on, right? That kind of thing. That's really more if you start talking polarized kind of conversation. If it would be the best way I would put it.
Yeah, I agree.
On the flip side of that, if you start into some of those conversations, you can look at really wonderful engagement.
Wow.
You'll get a lot of passion.
That depends on how you, yeah. Can I add
It might not
something
be
to
the
that?
engagement that you're looking for, but it's just going to get engaged. Go ahead, Mary.
I guess a good way to describe it would be your personal opinion about something, because people don't necessarily care about your opinion unless you're running for office. Then they might, but even then, you want to stay objective on an issue, and you always want to focus on value propositions or value points. So in Stephen's example, where he's done this great work for activism, it's almost like case studies and saying, I was honored to be part of this really great program that did X, Y, and Z, and we were able to accomplish this. This is really great because X, Y, and Z, right? When you're
say that one more time, because I think that could be used for so many different applications. Mary, say that one more time.
So yeah, it's an objective positioning, almost as like a case study where you're focusing on, yes, we were involved with this, or here's our clients that we were able to do this for. This was their objective. This is their product. This is their campaign. And this is why it was great, and this is what resulted, and we're so happy that they're happy. Or here's a quote from them. But really, in social, you're doing quick snippets, and you want to focus on those value props, right? And then you can say, if you want more info, go here, and then you have a full case study outlined on, here's the client, here's their market, this is what's the ask, this is what we did, this is what resulted. Win, win, win. And here's a quote from them on why we're fabulous.
And I got to say, Mary, that's such a great approach, because when I see people doing that, it makes me stand up and listen, as opposed to the just gratuitous, like, I'm the best, come and use my services, I offer this, I offer that. Tell me how you're actually helping somebody. And then I might want to be helped as well. I might be looking for that exact same kind of help. I love that.
It goes back to what we talked about as far as, telling stories, right? If you tell a story about how you've been able to help, it's actually a testimony. It's an indirect testimony about yourself and your services. If you're telling a story how you've helped X, Y, and Z, it's a great tool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
I feel like we've hit a nice little plateau here. So let's talk about, because you have direct experience with this, Mary, taking your company, right? So you're a solopreneur now, you got an idea, you're working, maybe you're somebody like me that's been on the grind for 10 years, not mad with my life. My business has done great things for my access to my family, but hey, I want to get it to this IPO level. I want to build this thing out. I want to market the hell out of it. I want to expand. I want to build my team. I want to level up. I want to get to that next level. Talk to us a little bit about what your experience is with the mechanics of that. What do people need to be looking at and building? And then we'll get to the thing that everybody needs. We talked about this ad nauseum through the pandemic, but there is no escaping the mindset shift that has to happen when you want to do this. But let's talk about the technical aspects first, and then we'll get into the mindset shift that inevitably has to happen.
Okay.
What do you see from the point of view of an entrepreneur starting business? How do they level up? How do they get to that next level?
Yeah. So usually what happens, it's very organic. Okay. And again, it's going to depend on, I'll just give an example of a software as a service company. But there's many others that go along. But typically what happens is somebody comes up with an idea. They figure out what is it solving? What's the why behind it? They have to then figure out, okay, I want to bring this thing to market. There's a ton of marketing that has to go into it. So brand management and making sure your product is solid, making sure you've done a competitive analysis. Like, you really need to know your space. So let's assume that we know our space, we know our brand management, we know our positioning and why it makes us look different. We know who we're going up against. And we figure out how to try to get it out there. You have to create awareness. Social media is magic in my world. I'm an old lady, and I was doing this when there was no social media and barely an internet. Yeah, I've got all kinds of stories. So for me, I can see immediate results very quickly, and it's amazing and super gratifying. But it also means that you can work 24/7, and that's across the board, really. But the bottom line is you have to think about in terms of phases of like, okay, look, we need to get out here and prove concepts. Do we have something that we can sell that our market is really interested in? Oftentimes entrepreneurs will start off with a huge market instead of really breaking it down and like, let's figure out who the companies are, who the titles are. Let's go regional. Let's just start with Austin. I'm in Austin. Hi. Let's start in Austin, and then let's get to Dallas and Houston and San Antonio and make sure we've got a regional footprint here. And then that's going to attract success and investment for you to get to that next level, right? So now we're bumping up emotionally. Okay, I'm going to have to hire more help. We're going to have more spend. We're going to have more product development. I'm just using this as the example. But you can see that there's an organic transition. And oftentimes marketing is thought of as it's for grudge. They don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the money on it. They don't know how to think about it in terms of what's the point. They don't understand that social media management ties to a campaign, which then ties to a product to sell or a service. Therefore, it has to be ingrained in the business from the bottom up. Yeah, you've got a market. How are you going to go to market? You're like a gorilla in the trees. That's what I am. I'm a gorilla in the trees. It's my job to go in and hunt them down and corner them. And then it's the sales guy's job to come in behind me and close the deal because I'm not doing that. So that philosophy carries throughout the entire growth of a company. And it becomes really very, very apparent when you have organizations that embrace the power of marketing and those that fight it. And tech often fights it, which is a bummer, but they're getting better. I will say that's happening. That's getting better. But if you use the philosophy of, look, we're going to keep this simple. We're going to have the right tools connected to our system. So we're going to have an open source website like WordPress, that you have all of these great tools at your disposal. And for $15, you get a great testimonial widget on your website. The list goes on and on and on. But you have core things like an open source website, a social media management area. You have a CRM. People ignore this, a customer relationship management tool. LinkedIn is not a CRM. LinkedIn is a networking room, a party room for you to get their information into your CRM so you can communicate and you nurture them. And, they might not be asking you for business right now, but they might in 6 months. They might not just be ready. So you have to have newsletters and communications that go out to them once a month, checking in. All of these philosophies support the sales cycle.
And Mary, I just want to add some context on what you're saying, because I think what you're saying is so important, because we are talking about leveling up. And I know for Steve and I don't think you're using a CRM, Steve, besides LinkedIn and your calendar, right?
Well, with my work with Quadient, yes. But with my work as a entrepreneur, just general stuff, no. So,
and that's two sides of the coin too, because Quadient is a large company, right? Which I think is a great. Because what Mary's talking about is if you want to get to that level where you're not knee deep in the grind yourself all the time, you got to build these systems and processes. So yes, use the things that you got right now while you don't have the budget. But if you want to level up, you got to start investing the money and building these systems and processes out so that somebody else can just get into the system. I go through the same challenge myself, with my calendar, because I use a physical calendar, and a physical calendar is great. It's very organized, easy to look at. But you can't bring in 25 virtual assistants to look at the same, physical calendar on your desk. It's not possible. So you got to level up. I love it. Keep going, Mary. So I just want to add some context flavor.
Oh, you too. We have some work cut out for us. Good Lord. I'm going to smack you around a little bit after this show. I'm going to tell you, oh my God. Okay, just to give you an idea, I'm not talking about really expensive tools. This is the other thing. WordPress, to create a site and get it launched and out there and active and pushing, max it'll cost you $1,500. And I have a great developer I can connect you to. He's fabulous. He's in Vancouver, Canada. And I think we have somebody from Quebec here. So bonjour. So that's cheap. We have a CRM, Insightly. It's fabulous. It's $35 a month per seat. For entrepreneurs, you can afford that. It connects to everything, meaning it collects everything. It'll collect from your website. And then you can walk them through a lead cycle. Okay, they're a lead right now. We're going to convert them to an opportunity. So now you have a sales funnel, and now you've closed the deal, right? But then you'll have an integration to
say the name of the software again, and I'll throw it on the screen.
Insightly.
Insightly. All right,
Insight.
I'll put it on the screen now.
Insightly. Thank you for doing that. Talking, walking, writing, this is a challenge. I'm blonde. What do you want from me? So, when you think about terms of consolidating and keeping things simple, if you set structure up and foundational marketing structure like this, you will be able to grow and do a lot more, much more efficiently with less effort, right? So Insightly will then connect to MailChimp. MailChimp was just purchased for a couple billion. They launched here in Austin at South by Southwest about 15 years ago. Super cool. So MailChimp is their tool is designed as a push product, direct marketing tool. They're starting to add a bunch of stuff in there that they don't need to do. This happens all the time. If you just use them for marketing and direct marketing, the two connect. So here's my list in Insightly. I want to push this newsletter or this message out to all of them. Click, click, done. Done. You're done. So now you're able to nurture in volume by title, by region, by industry, by market. You're able to cut it all up really quickly to be able to communicate with these people, which then has a link back to you. They will come back to you. They're going to come back to you and read the blog post on your newsletter, or they're going to come back to you just on the straight email. You can do both in this tool. I have been advocating this tool for years now. I've had several small businesses. Salesforce is a whale, and unless you're a multi-billion-dollar company, who, by the way, most companies are very unhappy with Salesforce for a lot of reasons. I'm just going to use the term half-baked. It's a really great way to think about it. Half-baked, and they're charging you at the yin-yang, and you're not getting what you want.
It's crazy. The last time I looked at it was a crazy price tag, definitely.
And it's never working right, and it's just constant problems. I don't have these issues with something like Insightly, which, by the way, just launched an enterprise version. So, you don't have to go down this crazy, costly path. And then you have social media where you're cranking stuff out through one source. You don't have to log into 5 different accounts. So boom, 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 done. And you can schedule this stuff out.
All right, we're going to go back to the LinkedIn conversation for just a quick moment because we got some people knocking on the door wanting this question to be answered regarding LinkedIn. Should somebody create a fake, and this is from she doesn't have the access on here, so it's not showing up here, but it's T-Ball for, how do you say the last name, Steve? Forges? I don't know. You got to talk to us so we know how to pronounce your name. Should one create a fake LinkedIn profile to spy on their competitors?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a he or she. And in the world we are right now, it's not supposed to say it anyway, so don't know. But I'll just say this: I'm a big, transparent, authentic. I don't believe in spying. I don't believe in any of that. So either you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it. So I don't know the value of spying versus just going to see what a competitor is doing using what you have right now. I mean, that's my take on it. Just no reason to just waste your time and also come across inauthentic in some way or another. You have your credibility. You could lose it, and then once you lose it, it's impossible to get it back. So I try to avoid anything that's a little sketchy. So I'm curious.
I think there's some ways too to make your searching around private, right? You can actually click through some features on LinkedIn.
Settings, yeah.
Yeah.
In your settings, you can hide.
People don't know that it's you. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can make it anonymous. So a couple things. LinkedIn is very strict on their technology, and even with any use of third-party tools for automated outreach. If they find that you are not complying with their standards, they'll kick you off the platform and you're done. So that's number one. The whole spying aspect, I don't
so that would be something you want to stay away from if you want to stay on the LinkedIn platform.
Right. So it's kind of like, well, that's one really good reason not to. But I know of other organizations years ago that would try to do this, and they weren't gaining any insight from the competitors by being on LinkedIn, meaning the competitors aren't posting specific stuff on that platform that you can't already get from their website or even subscribing to their newsletter. If you opt in to subscribe to their email list, you'll be surprised. You'll get added. They're not scrubbing it. They're just not. They're not paying attention. Sometimes you have a good marketer that actually has a list of competitor emails. And sometimes you have marketers that will say, yeah, we're not going to send it to a personal email, a Gmail or a Yahoo or Hotmail or whatever. I've seen AOL emails floating around out there still too. But so you have to really think about it. And then the third thing that I would say from a competitor standpoint, oftentimes businesses will hire competitive shoppers. So that means you're hiring a business consultant to pose as a prospective buyer to get in there and get the full product demo and the price list. To Steve's point, it's very disingenuous and shady and bad juju and bad karma to do that. There's lots of other ways to get the information. And I would implore you to think about hiring a good marketing intelligence, marketing analytics, or marketing analysis firm that can do a better job for you to really get what you're getting at. And having a target on, like, what do you want to know? Because there's a lot out there.
Absolutely.
Those are great points. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's go back here. So we've talked a little bit about the LinkedIn game. We've talked a little bit about, just the components, the technical components. Let's talk about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening actually to Steve on the Raw Rants podcast this morning, and I got to say, I really enjoyed Steve hearing, the transition from the not being a people person to, reading Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence multiple times, and even through the martial arts, just getting the mindset of kind of being in one mind and focused on things. Mindset is such a big thing. Every thought leader, huge CEO, everybody talks about different ways that they focus, manage their schedule, figure their way out. What do you guys have to say on this topic of mindset, for leveling up your mindset?
I can take this.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for the kind words, Cameron. It was fun being on with Theron. Stefan Theringer is great. He's an incredible resource. And I met him thanks to you, Cameron. You invited me on to some of your Clubhouse shows that you were doing, and it was great to get to meet him. But yeah, so I mean, one of the things that and I did a video recently, the who, what, where, when, and why. And number one, you want to know why, right? You got to figure out your why. You got to figure out your overall mission statement. What do you want to accomplish here? So to me, that's super, super important, is knowing why. And then also the next thing that's probably as equally important is the who. And I found that having a mentor in my life has been extremely important. And to some degree, like Cameron, when it comes to technology and like doing broadcast, you've been my mentor, right? So it's great to find someone in your life that is now Mary's going to be my personal gorilla. She called herself the gorilla. So she's the gorilla in the tree. She's going to be my personal mentor in a lot of things, hopefully, God willing, right? But anyway, but yeah, you want to find the right who in your life that could really help guide you, because if you're doing it all by yourself, you're limited. So that, and then also just being prepared, right? Getting the right mindset as far as what are you putting in your brain every day, right? Are you focused on a negative, or are you kind of solution seeking and putting good stuff in your brain to kind of keep you in a good place? I mean, if you saw some of the there was a documentary on Netflix on Bill Gates, and I know there's controversy there, so I'm not trying to get there, but the guy has, like, when he travels everywhere around the world, he has the big old school bag of books. The guy's a reader, right? So leaders are readers, and you want to prepare your brain, prepare your mind for success. But the last thing is take action, and don't wait. Just jump in, right? Like Cameron was alluding to, as far as the LinkedIn thing. We talked about this. I agree, Mary, that LinkedIn is not a CRM, but if you're a solopreneur and you're just kind of getting your thing started, I've used it as a CRM to a degree, but then I take it offline. But it is a way that you could kind of stay in contact and get your message out and have an ongoing message. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but there are things you could do with it. But just jump. Don't you don't have to feel like I need hundreds of thousands of dollars. For some people, a $1,500 website could be more than they can afford right now. So there might be ways to get started, to just get going. But don't wait. Don't just it's is analysis paralysis, right? You just sort of you're just stifled because there's so much going on that you think you got to do. Just jump. That would be my mindset perspective.
Just jump and make sure something's going to catch you and you're not falling off a bridge, and then I'm good. But if I may elaborate on that, one other thing I would mention is oftentimes when you have an entrepreneur that they feel overwhelmed, they don't have enough help. So creating structure to your personal life and your professional life will really help you in the long run. So yes, I've got all this to do. Well, that's never going to go away, ever. You're always going to have a list as long as your leg. I mean, I'm in marketing and I could literally work 24/7. It's really learning how to prioritize. This has all got to get done. And here's the game. I call it game plan. Look, you might want to get to this. It's not going to happen because you've got all this other stuff that's got to get done first. And if you're not clear on how to prioritize, you need a mentor, because they can help you understand, oh, well, you need to do this because this connects to this. And I would say focus on foundational stuff. To your point, if you start to create a really strong social media following, just this morning on the Today Show, we watched it in the morning, there was a jogger who's been on TikTok about her journey on learning how to jog. And she became a runner, and she just finished the New York Marathon, which she never thought she would do in her life. And she's hilarious. She's really sweet. But she has this gigantic TikTok following and all of these fans during the New York Marathon. She's just like, what is going on? What happened? She's got a website. So, you can get strong followings even on LinkedIn where your people are really following you. There are CEOs out there that are really active on just really quick blurbs that they're gaining traction. And then that can lead to you monetizing it because they're asking you for your services or purchasing your products, yada, 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 which then can lead to that next step. So it's really thinking about, instead of getting flipped out and overwhelmed on, oh my God, I don't know where to start, to your point, to just start small. Just start one place where you can kind of carve out some success, and then be like, okay, now we're going to get to this next level, and then I'm going to get some help, and then you're moving and you're actually selling and getting to an IPO. First of all, to get to an IPO, big deal, and you might not want to go public. What you really want to do is grow. So to Steve's point, what am I trying to do? What do I want? Really mapping that out. Because if you just want to kick it on a beach and have revenue coming in and not being stressed out and worried, you don't want to go in an IPO because that's not going to happen. It's not the reality, champagne dreams and a beer budget. Like there's realities here. So then it's like, okay, no, I want to go private, but I do want to grow. I want to get to 20 or 100 or 300 million a year because we know we have this opportunity.
If you want to be the CEO of a publicly traded company, that's not the start of a beach vacation for sure.
No, I mean, that's a whole other level.
And I want to sprinkle some context that I love what you were talking about in terms of, being that person that people can interact with on social media, and it doesn't need to be that tough. It's as simple as documenting the journey. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that perfect Instagram photo or that perfect LinkedIn photo because they're comparing themselves to somebody else. And if you're doing that right now, we're going to say stop, because your journey is unique, it's special, and I guarantee you sharing that rough day or that day where you got over a hurdle, because maybe you don't want to share a negative thing, but you want to share something positive that you get, because I guarantee you, if you're running a business, there's something negative and positive happening every single day probably.
Yeah,
so
great point.
There's things for you to share, right? There's things for you to talk about, and that's relatable. That's authentic. I love that. And I think that's a great way to do social media. We've had the pleasure of having a few people that have that piece of their persona out there on LinkedIn, both personal and the professional, and they're doing really well with it. So I would say to folks, don't be afraid of that. I love that. Go ahead, Mary.
No, I'm absolutely agree with you. And I think if you do take those blinders off and just, there's also, I'm a yogi. So sorry guys, I am my yogi because I had a meeting backed up to this. This is why I'm casual, apologies. But yoga has taught me a lot about really being true to myself and calming down and not getting overwhelmed and breathing and standing. I'm standing up right now. I've got a Veridesk, so I'm standing up. You get sucked in, and to not get so sucked into your silo and really just step back and say, is everything that I'm doing really meeting my purpose in life? I love marketing and I love helping people succeed. So it could be small, could be medium, it could be large, but this is who I am and what I do. And if you can live with it, then we're going to have a great success together. And if I'm not your jam, that's fine. I can, point you to somebody else. but you want to constantly serve your purpose. And people get most unhappy and stressed out when they're getting pulled away from it. And listen to that and just be like, no, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And if I need to get help over here, I'm going to ask for help over here. Oftentimes people think that's perceived as weakness. It's the complete 180 opposite. It's strength. There's no way, because you're supposed to have a life, and then you're supposed to have a business career or life, right? So you got to figure that out, how to really stick to a
it brings to
disciplined
mind
mental
the
view.
people that compete on being busy. I know Steve's talked about this before.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've gotten less sleep than you. I'm busier than you. You know, that kind of game, and that doesn't help you.
It doesn't help anybody, and those people wind up crashing, and their personal lives are a catastrophe. They're miserable, and then something major has to happen for them to really take stock of what's happening in their life, and then they've got to make some changes, right? So you know, I've been doing this a long time.
Talk to me about this because you're into yoga. You're a yogi. Why did you take up that art? I mean, you got that in common with Steve on the martial arts side. Not only did he start practicing martial arts, but he became an instructor because he got so.
I like yogurt. Does that count? Keep going.
No. So I started it here when I moved to Austin. There happened to be a yoga studio right next to us, and I've always done Pilates, but I couldn't find an affordable Pilates studio here. It was a fortune, and I came from a place where it was super accessible. So I thought, okay, let me give this a shot. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to be bored out of my mind, and I'm going to hate it. And it was completely the opposite. And mind you, I came from California and was born and raised in San Francisco, and I came via Santa Barbara for 18 years, went to school there. So beautiful, mild climate. And then I moved to basically the armpit of hell summer of March of 2009, when it was over 100 degrees for, I think, 95 days in a row. It was just insanity. It was like, if we could do this, we can do anything, like craziness. And for me, I was so stressed out because of the shift. I was laid off, made redundant. The acquiring company wanted to have me move to Virginia. And 3 months after getting to Austin, and I knew two people. I knew three. I knew my husband, and I knew my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law. That's all I knew. So I was so stressed out about, oh my God, I've got to start over. I don't have any network here, which is where LinkedIn came really handy. But it was a ton of work to be like, okay, what am I going to do? Who am I going to work? Am I going to start my own thing? Am I going to go to work for people? And I needed some way to decompress. So the best way, because I was so stressed, was I had to take a hot yoga class. So a hot yoga class in 100-degree weather, I should get an Academy Award, because I walked out looking like as red as my lampshade. So back there, I look like a tomato. But for the first time in years, all of a sudden I could put my hands on the floor and stretch. And I was taking up an hour of my time to take care of myself. And it challenged me physically, and it challenged me mentally. Balancing is really difficult. Balancing on one foot and holding poses, all of this stuff. Breathing, you're not breathing enough. So it's taught me over the years, I've been here 12 years, that the more you can just carve out, even if it's a half an hour in the mornings before the day gets crazy for yourself, and do something that's mindful and physically challenging. Yoga meets that for me. I'm happy to provide you guys with some links to some great online classes. You really learn, you take this philosophy, I'm sure, in martial arts, except you can't beat the crap out of people when you'd really like to. That would be awesome. But you
really are the gorilla in the tree. You really are.
Like, where are they? I'm going in. Don't let them get away. Where's my backup? So when you get into that mentality, you realize, oh, if I transfer this into my daily life, carved out time for myself, learn how to say no or bump it or make adjustments and pivot. Being flexible, I like to dance. I don't know if you guys like to dance, but it's a mental challenge. It's a mental exercise of being flexible for growth on what you think was supposed to happen, didn't happen at all. Okay, so pivot, listen, and let's plan B. It's not going to kill you, or it's not going to shut everything down. It's just, you've got to have that open mind of, you don't know everything. You've got a team around you to help you. There's always options. And if you have a vision of what you're trying to accomplish and what you're doing speaks to that, you will be successful.
It's a great point. Really good point. And I just want to chime in on that. I'm not going to talk much about the martial arts. You talk really well about the yoga stuff. But I will say this, that you made some really good points about, carving out time. And you also said some of the challenges with taking to the next level is really finding the time, feeling overwhelmed. And I find that, and Cameron's right. I've talked about this a bunch of times about time management, and I don't believe in time management. I believe in calendar management or event management, because you can't manage time. It's 24 hours, 7 days, right? But carving out time, and I don't know if any of the viewers have had these challenges. I have over the years, where you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go to sleep, or you maybe just put your head on the pillow and you can't go to sleep. And many times it's like, oh, all these things going in my head. I got to do this. I got to remember that. And I found the minute I put it down, whether it be on paper or electronic, Mary, I'm with you. I'm more electronic person. I don't have a paper calendar. Everything I live and die by my calendar, which is in this device here. But you put it down, in my case, many times I'll make calendar events for myself. Like, in fact, I just took your advice on the Insight, and I made a calendar event for myself. Look into Insight, period. So taking action, putting it in your calendar, carving out time for meditation, carving out time to do yoga or eat yogurt in my case, whatever it is, right? You can carve it out.
Yogurt with a karate chop.
But if you manage your events and make sure you carve out the time, you won't feel overwhelmed, and you'll be able to execute and not just feel like you're all over the place. And I think there's a lot of the challenges, depending upon your personality style. There a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be kind of visionary. They don't tend to be very detail oriented, and getting to the little things are hard. But if you put it out on the calendar and you're very systematic about it, it will happen little by little. I heard it, inch by inch, everything's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. Just little by little, do a little bit at a time. So
that's a great point. And entrepreneurs, I call it the squirrel effect. So you know how the squirrel, like, squirrel, like over here, because they get bored with something. I'm like, no, you got to finish. And it's a mental discipline. So if you're treating it like, look, I have to focus on foundational stuff first. I have to get this done. You stick to it. I went to parochial school, and I still remember those nuns with those rulers, and they're like, no, you are going to finish this before you get to this next thing. I'm like, okay. But it really helps me understand, don't get distracted by the nice shiny object, because just because it's a shiny object isn't really going to help you. And to your point too, I will say one thing, I want to throw a tip out there. I had the same issue where if you wake up and then your mind kicks in and you can't turn it off, I ordered myself, it's called a hatch clock, like hatching an egg. And it has an app that comes with it, and you can have all kinds of sounds or whatever going. And I turn the ocean on the minute for me, because I come from the ocean. The minute I hear the ocean, I decompress, and I'm asleep in minutes. So that's been a game changer for me. Things like that, like I realize this is what's happening to me, and I need to control it somehow to really pull all this in and stay focused.
Yeah, I can relate. And by the way, I didn't have the parochial background, but I had a martial arts instructor who was a maniac. And anywhere we were out and about, not in the karate studio, randomly at any moment, he could like reverse punch me in the solar plexus or in the rib cage, just randomly, like out of the blue. Like that was so there was lessons in that. Cameron's like, what the heck is he doing? That's what happened. So I didn't get the ruler in the hand and the whipping that.
Oh, so his message, like, pay attention, like, watch out what's coming. Is that why?
That was the lesson. In that case, it was always be aware, always be ready to go. That was it. And so what I did is every time I was around him, which is good and bad, I tightened my solar plexus up all the time. And I always could make sure that I was, exactly. I was always
walking
breathing
around like this.
The worst thing that I don't know, I'll give you a hack. It's nothing to do with take it to the next level, but I'll give you a hack anyway. If you know you're going to get striked into the stomach or the solar plexus, you got to breathe out as that's happening. Because if you're holding in your breath, forget it. So breathe out, and then you can take the punch pretty good. So anyway, nothing to do with taking it to the next level, but hey, there you go.
So somebody somewhere is like, oh, I needed that. I needed, because I'm dealing with that. I have somebody challenging me like that, and that's That's the advice I needed
I
today.
would like to see the karate chop with yogurt. So that's the next one I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
All right, so Mary, you are awesome. We know this.
Thank you.
Steve is the master connector. He brought you in because he knows how awesome you are. Obviously, we would love people to connect with you on LinkedIn. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, make sure you go to the link on the side. Connect with Mary right now. If you're on YouTube, you go down into the description down there and find it. Same thing with Facebook off to the side there. Mary, how else can people find you, connect with you? Is there something that they should be looking out for?
LinkedIn's fine if that's the area they prefer. I'll also put my website in there. It's fine. Freaked out, insecure, nervous, and what is the other one? Neurotic? I don't know. There's this acronym. It's fine. LinkedIn's fine. Maven Marketing Solutions, MAVEN Marketing Solutions, they can get me there, or Mary at Maven Marketing Solutions. I'm widely available to offer my advice on either services and or connect you to people in my world that might be able to help you.
All right, and let's just close this out again, because you talked about a few different things with LinkedIn, but people that they're leaving this show today, they want to level up on they're on LinkedIn right now.
Mm-hmm.
What should they be doing again to make sure their profile is sharp and they're attracting the right people, the right customers to their page?
I would say definitely take the time to go through your settings and dial it in. Pretend you have eyes as a prospect looking at your profile. That means the URL, as an example, it's a settings feature. Make sure it has your name in it and not some goofy number. Make sure that it's easy for people to find you, meaning that you're public. Everything's public. Your headshot photo, get an updated headshot and a good headshot photo. Make sure your title and what you do and how people should think about you, that's a personal brand, right? What you do, who's your daddy and what does he do? If you use that really quick terminology and philosophy with keywords so that they can find you there, that'll make a big difference. And then if you're really looking to level up and start your networking game, start joining groups, posting, use hashtags. There's some guidance on LinkedIn on how to do this really quickly, and then consider a Sales Navigator account to really help you get organized on who you're targeting and going after and what you're trying to accomplish. Start with, what do you want? What are you trying to do?
I always find it interesting, like who has like the premium LinkedIn. You're using LinkedIn. Why would it be worth it for you to level up to the Sales Navigator account? At what point should you be looking at? Because we're talking about leveling up. So I think, a lot of it is when you're leveling up, making sure you're prepared for it, right? You got the mindset, you know what you're doing. What's the things that should be triggering you to make some of these moves?
So if you're looking to actually establish relationships with people, to introduce yourself and to connect with them and get that. So what the process is, you can invite somebody to connect to you and they can ignore you. If they're not connected to you, they're not getting your feeds or your updates. The minute they opt in, when you send out a post, anybody that's connected to you receives a copy of that post on their feed. So think about it like an opt-in thing. You can do that without Sales Navigator. But if you're looking to not just create awareness and drive more people following you, but really target an account, a company, and you want to connect to, you can search for titles. So there's another tool for business development out there called Zoom Info, and it's very expensive. It's very sophisticated. It's a great tool. But you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator in the same way. So if you knew that you were targeting a specific industry, a specific region, specific titles in these companies, or just one company you wanted to get into at a certain level, you can find these people, put them in a list, and start communicating with them regularly instead of having to find them in your master contacts. And remember, make a mental note, I need to go back and find all of these people on one-off. This is consolidating it for you by company. So it's just a more efficient way of really organizing your contacts to get into them. And then asking them, hey, the idea is get them to connect to you and then give them your email address, their email address that you then put in your CRM. So now you're taking it from the cloud in LinkedIn land and you're putting it into your personal contact records that then you can start driving nurturing communications out of, or one-off that'll lead to something.
Love it. Love it. Steve, this has been amazing. Thanks for putting this together for us here. Tim, we want to bring you in for a moment. Just say thank you for helping us run the thing. And we want to let you all know that next week We have an amazing show planned for you. Every show is the best one yet. This was so great today. Mary, thanks for making this a killer show. I feel like people have definitely been able to, if they apply themselves, to level themselves up very easily today. Next week, we have episode 44, Professional Identity. Does it get in the way? We have 3 amazing people. Somebody that I've been in the sphere of. She's a meetings professional, Courtney Stanley. So I'm so sad that I'm going to miss it, but I'll be in the city running a meeting. So hopefully I'll get to tune in as an attendee, but I won't get to run the show. So Tim's going to do that for us. And we got Virginia Glazner, Estelle Poor, who's been so great as somebody tuning in the comments and being a great participant. So we're so excited to have her on the show. She's quickly become a member of the community here, and we're so happy for that. So tune in next week. Going to be an amazing show. Professional Identity. Does it get in the way? Check it out. Steve, close us out.
Absolutely. Well, again, Mary, thank you. Tim, thanks for helping with the magic behind the scenes. Appreciate it. Looking forward to co-hosting with you next week. It's going to be great. And yeah, man, we as a community here, our community, I think, loves us because we want to be a blessing to you. We want to be the light. We want to inspire you. We want to uplift you. We want you to have value, more value in your life. And we hope that the show is doing that for you. So we're gonna close out. Cameron said it all here, so we're gonna close it out where we're gonna send people on their way to crush it. Looking forward to having everyone back next week. So let's count down, and Mary, we're gonna yell out "crush it" when we hit to 5, okay? And viewers, please participate from your computers.
Yeah, this is a feel good moment. This really is. It's a physical mindset shifting kind of thing.
For sure. So ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Crush it.
Go out and have an amazing week, everybody. Thank you. We will see you next week. Professional Identity, does it get in the way? We touched on it a little bit today, so going to be a great show. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Have an amazing week, and we will see you soon. LinkedIn, we are going to fire up your Monday.
With Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.